Over to you, Paresh, sir.
Hello and welcome to another episode of In Conversation With. In Conversation With is a series by CASI Global from New York, where we invite senior professionals from across the world, across industries, in search of executable advice. Today's session is on entrepreneurship. In fact, we have a few upcoming sessions on entrepreneurship. So today is the first one on entrepreneurship, where we will primarily discuss what it takes to be one. But we shall also be touching on a few other issues because the topic is entrepreneurship. It's a hot one, it's a heated one. It is the topic for ministers, IAS officers, and the academicians creating jobs. So, before we go on to the first speaker of the day, let me introduce myself. My name is Paresh. I'm a member of the board at CASI Global from New York. CASI is the world's largest platform for sustainability. We have a presence across 52 countries. We also run the world's largest volunteering platform with a reach of over 3 million volunteers. So, as I said before we go on to the first speaker, let me ask you a question. I would request anyone for this. I would request a short answer. A 30-40 second answer would be very nice. My question is, in India, every segment, the government, the academicians, the corporates, everybody is pushing entrepreneurship, either really or at least vocally. But we are able to move it. We are not able to take a massive jump in entrepreneurship. We only have 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 listed companies max on the stock exchanges, in the Mumbai Stock Exchange. Given that we are a 60-year-old democracy with 150 crore population and 6 generations at least passed since the democratic of India, some 800 people, 100 crore, 700 crore people have been on these lands. Why don't we have 50,000 corporates as listed? Why don't we have 30,000 corporates as listed? We have to still push corporates, or we still have a piddly number of 3,000-4,000 corporates. Are we still in the colonial Raj, where people feel let's be 21 years old, let's do some networking, let's reach out to the government and the government will give us a job. So it's the government's job to give us a job. Are we still in the colonial Raj? Any one of the speakers, please.
May I speak something, sir?
Please.
Actually, what I feel, entrepreneurship is nothing but the mindset. And the mindset is being governed by the role models presented and projected by the society. Problem is that the social psychology, if we go through, in India I'm talking about, majorly, the entrepreneurs are not given a proper recognition. We give recognition to IAS, doctors, engineers, as you have told earlier also, to the government servants. But when the role model is not there, who will follow? Where the students will follow? How they will get motivated? Second thing, entire education system, we need to work on the 5 helix model, where industria, academia, government, society, and environment, all these 5 factors has to be taken into consideration. Especially the government, academia, and industry, I would like to say, they all are working well, but they all are working in 3 different islands, and there is no interconnectivity among them. This is the basic reason. I'm a professor of entrepreneurship. I spent 2 decades in the industry, then I came here. Subjects like entrepreneurship should be taught, in my opinion, only by those people who are having some industrial experience, who are having some industrial exposure. And yes, this is true that they should be promoted to do the business. I'm not doing business and I'm telling you how to go for the entrepreneurship. I don't want to take risk and I'm telling you how to take risk. So these are the paradox, which I feel.
that brings me to my next. And that was a very interesting answer, sir. That brings me to my next question. Again, before we go on to the first speaker, I would request any one of you to give me a short answer. Not necessarily a sweet answer, but a short answer would suffice. Anyone of the panel or the viewers, gentlemen, my question is, and ladies, my question is, when we go through the entrepreneurial ecosystem, then there's the government, there are universities, there are schools, there are colleges, there are platforms, there are innovation hubs, there are investors, there are Vs and PEs. So it's a very large ecosystem in which we find the raw material is the students. Yeah, so the students are the raw material, and the entire ecosystem needs to take out the raw material and develop something. And being a capitalist economy, the ecosystem also makes money. So I have been an investor myself in startups, and we have made touch wood, we have made a lot of money in investing in startups and then selling them. I even sold one of my startups to a listed limited company on the Bombay Stock Exchange. And it was a small startup. Within 24 months, we sold it for a couple of $1 million. So I have been there, done that. Now my question is, as you said, Professor Rajkumar, but anyone may answer. Why do we not have a basic test of becoming a professor entrepreneurship, or becoming a mentor of entrepreneurship, or teaching entrepreneurship? How do we allow everyone, anyone, because it becomes a free for all market? So would you agree that it is a free for all market? Anybody can teach entrepreneurship, anybody. So you have no idea, you have no risk taking capabilities, and you're telling the other guy, look, go and take some risk, go and take some risk. How does it happen? What are we really doing? Anyone, your comments, please.
Yeah, hi, Sumit here.
Yeah, Sumit, tell me.
So I would like to once again quote Professor Dr. Rajkumar that you see right now as a nearly developing nation, we are faced with two kind of issue. One is the existential set of values which we have. So there will be a lot of educated people in the system, but their values won't encourage the next generation or the people who are in the pipeline of the family to say that, okay, you take up a job. They would rather say become an IAS or do something, etc. Do your MBA while you are studying and do something. The risk taking thing is not there, and there are a lot of other kind of issues. But I also see the ecosystem evolving gradually, because it's all a matter of taking a jump, even when there is nothing much to fall
Yeah,
back on.
Sumit, my question is, why do we allow, or should we allow, anyone and everyone to become an entrepreneurial trainer?
Can I?
Yeah.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So I think we should, because entrepreneurship itself, I think there shouldn't be a framework to say that it is like a BSc degree where you teach somebody certain science, and increasingly it is becoming interdisciplinary, and the entrepreneur requires not just an understanding of interdisciplinary skills, he also has to understand a larger ecosystem. Typically, the knowledge that is required is more like a comb. I mean, you require both width and depth. And I think there is no single individual who can say that, I'm a trainer of entrepreneurship. So entrepreneurship is a very broad term. So we might have different people teaching different things, and the entrepreneur learns something from you, something from me, and something from somebody else.
Absolutely, Gopal sir. That is a very well framed answer. Welcome to the show, Gopal Krishnan Venugopal. Let's start with let's start today's seminar with Professor Rajkumar Singh. Professor, please tell us, in your opinion, what does it take to be one? How do you become an entrepreneur? What is your angle, sir?
So thank you very much, sir, for your kind invitation. And you have chosen a very pertinent topic, the entrepreneur, what does it take to be one? As I told you earlier, that basically you will have to have the courage to fulfill your dreams. You don't become entrepreneur just for the sake of money. It's for the satisfaction. Nowadays, IIMs are producing the people having the one crore of salary. But in spite of that, I'm having so many examples that they have left the job and they started things. So first thing is that there is a Darwin philosophy, that survival of the fittest. So many examples we are seeing, on data we are sharing, that only 10% startups are successful. 90% are failed. So why they are failed? Question is this: why they are failed? Why they are failed? Because of lack of the basic homework. They have not developed any business model. They have not done any innovation. They have not done any feasibility analysis. Now we are in the age of industry 4.0, and now we are moving towards the industry 5.0. And we need to understand that to follow a 4-point formula, that think big, start small, grow gradually, and grow globally. This is what my mantra is. Because you need to have a risk. Risk is an important part. It's inevitable. But how you can minimize that? And the situation is that keep your eye close on the global opportunities. Because see, you need to understand in your innovation part that you don't sell the product or services. You actually sell the solution. So where your innovation is going on, be a keen observer. See the problem and search the solution. Because you need to develop the entrepreneurial mindset, what I've told you earlier. Who is the person who's having this entrepreneurial mindset? Sir has said very rightly, you need to have that service starter, but you need to have a self manager also. You have to manage the things also, and you have to initiate it also. It's not that you initiate the things and you leave it to others. Otherwise, the things will happen. And I agree with one of the speaker that you keep on learning the things, keep on learning things. So whenever any idea comes to your mind, try to ask 4 questions. What problem you are going to address? And second, whether the solution is being provided by your innovation or not. And third, whether it is commercially viable or not, people are ready to pay money for that. And fourth, whether people will retain with you and have an advocacy to the others also. Because nowadays we need to move toward the design thinking process to design innovation, where the technological feasibility, business viability, and the human values, usability, and desirability is lost. We need to move through different stages. Whatever innovation we are seeing, we are having so many patents, but how many patents are really coming in the market in a commercial viable way? Because problem is that we don't move through the proper steps of the design thinking, where we have to emphasize the issue, we have to define the problem, we need to ideate it, and then develop a proper prototype, which will need a iteration and reiteration in the testing process, and then comes the launching of the things. Because many of times we don't actually try to understand what actually the market need is, what is the cost benefit, what is the technical feasibility. We just move with something, some idea. Many times, many startup friends or my friends, they ask me a question, sir, how will I get the money? How will I get the fund? Getting a fund nowadays is not a tough task. Professor Paresh is there. People like Professor Paresh is there to invest money in your venture. But they will see how much return your startup is going to give him, so that he can get money out of that and they can come forward. So this is what you have to understand, because you have to do the proper marketing of your entire startup, and you need a proper physical business plan. So business plan, because see, the startup who fail to plan is planning for their failure. So planning is a very important part. So many things, especially so far as the entrepreneurs are concerned, sir, family businesses are very, we are having 70% business houses who are run by the family businesses. And now we are saying, this is the data, that 70% fails to the second generation. And when the third generation comes, 90% get failed. Because majority of reasons are there. They don't have the proper succession planning. They don't have the innovation. They need to work on the product versus service innovation. We are focusing more on the product innovation. We should understand that product innovation can be easily copied, but service innovation is not easily copied. We need to work on that part. Proper feasibility analysis needs to be done. Poor financial management. In family business, I have personally observed that people don't know which money is their money and which money is the money of business. And likewise, they don't have a proper scale-up study, because scale-up is a one thing for any startup where you majorly face the problem. Doing the things on a small scale level is good, but when you scale up, your outstanding in the market increases, your working capital get stuck, and you are having so many quality issues. Service delivery mechanism is there. Likewise, your family conflict, this also creates so many issues. So we need to understand that we have to come forward with whatever opportunities are available all around the globe. And that's why I always used to say, think big, start small, grow gradually, and grow globally. So this is what I feel in short, looking to the things. And one thing I would like to suggest to every startup, that they see there is a 3F model of success of any startup. Normally, we say the fame, finance, and function. We talk more about how to get fame, how to get name, how to get finance, how to get money, but we less concentrate on our function part. If your function is strong, you can do anything. Do your SWOT analysis, develop your skills, your managerial skills, technical skills, human skills. New and new technology are coming, and now the things are more technology driven. And but at the same time, as in Industry 5.0, with the technology, the touch of the human being is very important. And this is what I feel, because you may create your brand just by having a problem solving approach, the innovation in your service part. And I don't think there will be any problem. And yes, of course, as I've told you, in the ecosystem, your industry, academia, and government working together is must. Incubation centers will be properly work. And so far as the education aspect, which was raised by Professor Paresh in the beginning, this is very unfortunate, because when we recruit people in the university system or other education system, we are not given anything as a specific guideline that, okay, for this subject, what should be done. Uh, Unlike medical science, I appreciate, because in medical science, you will have to sit in the hospital, see the patients, write the medicines, and then when you become assistant professor somewhere, you are aware of all these things. I think such kind of practices should be applied everywhere. There's a management education, engineering education, or legal education. So these are few of my takes on this topic. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sure our audience has a lot of questions for you. But in essence of time, let's go on to the next speaker. And then once we finish all the three speakers for the day, then we shall come out with a question answer session. Because I would really, I'm happy to, read your byline, think big, start small, grow gradually, grow globally. And I have a few questions on that. Come to you again. Mr. Haribhushan ji, welcome to the show. Mr. Haribhushan ji, welcome to the show. I'm entrepreneur is someone who has a vision and a desire to create something.
Yes, sir. The topic of the today conference is entrepreneur. What does it take to be one? I am Haribhushan.
Please
I am
share your
Haribhushan.
opinion with us.
Firstly, before go to the topic, I want to say something about a globally accepted source of employment generation is entrepreneurship development in underdeveloped and underdeveloped countries. Entrepreneurship development is an important source for globally economic development. Today, world is facing the problem of unemployment, and entrepreneurship is the key factor to bring out the economic from unemployment crisis. Indian economy is also facing the problem of unemployment and poverty. In recent scenario, government and many other agencies are focusing to promote the culture of entrepreneurship atmosphere in the nature to fight against the problem of unemployment. Like JKEDI, Jammu and Kashmir Entrepreneurship Development Institute, play an important role to eradicate the problem of unemployment, like providing training and guidance to the unemployment youth, trainings through EDP courses, entrepreneurship development program, also provide financial linkage to the candidates. Recently, in 2018 November, Government of India established a Ministry of Education Innovation Cell to promote the culture of innovation startups in the higher education institutions like colleges, universities, institutes, so that students can become a job creator, not a job seeker, because every person do not get a government job. Just like that example, in northern region, every 10 of or 9 students think of government job. So we have to change the mindset of the youth, so that so that they become a job creator, not a job seeker. uh, my uh, my first slide page is written on the slide. Entrepreneurship is living a few years of life like most people would not, so that you can spend the rest of life like most people cannot. In entrepreneurship, we do a lot of struggles in the few years, like 4 to 5 years. When the venture is successful, so venture is successful, so they can easily run, uh, and we get a lot of profit through we venture we establish. Way forward, the entrepreneur always thinks to way forward, not thinking back. uh, Entrepreneur, a basic definition of entrepreneur: a person who have an idea and dare to start that idea. What is idea? Idea is nothing but solution to a problem. uh, Next slide. Entrepreneurship: what, why, and who. What is entrepreneurship? Entrepreneurship is the process of starting a business or creating new markets. Written on the slide: process of designing, launching, and running a new business, which typically begins a small business offering a product, process, or service for sale or hire. Why we an entrepreneur? Uh, why people go to the why people go to the entrepreneur? Like they want to become a they take their own decisions, and also creates job creation, economic development, self decisions makers. uh, Entrepreneur can change the way we live and work. Their revelation may improve our standard of living. In short, in addition of creating wealth from the entrepreneurial venture, they also create jobs and the conditions for flourishing society. Entrepreneur: a person who have an idea, a person who initiate and establish an economic activity. Entrepreneur: a person who starts a business and is willing to take risks in order to make money, or one who organize money and assume the risk of a business of enterprise or entrepreneurship. For most persons, entrepreneurship is a dream. For some, it is a desire. But for a very elite, it is an ambition in mind. Uh, their main focus to become to become a entrepreneur of few elite. Entrepreneurship. The word entrepreneur originates from the French word entreprendre, which means to undertake. In the business context, it means to start a business. The Merriam-Webster dictionary presents the definition of entrepreneur as one who organizes, manages, and assumes the risk of a business or enterprise. In 1934, Joseph sculptured modern definition of an entrepreneur as innovation, less on risk takers. Today is the decade of innovation. Innovation, so that the entrepreneurs come with the innovative idea, but innovative ideas. Entrepreneurs and innovators who implement entrepreneurial change within the market by identifying market opportunities and using innovative approaches to exploit them. 5 manifestations of entrepreneurial change: introduction of a new goods and services or improved products, introduction of a new method of production, opening of new markets, exploitation of new source of supply, re-engineering organization of business management process. What are the various characteristics of a good entrepreneur? They have motivation. Second one is creative tendency. Third one is calculated risk taking, and fourth one is locus of control. First one is motivation. The enterprising person is highly motivated, energetic, and and does he have capacity for hard work, motivated. He should be self-motivated. Creative tendency. The enterprising person is restless with ideas, has an imaginative approach to solving problems, creative. They should be a creative and tends to see things in a different ways to others. Next one is calculating risk taking. The enterprising person is opportunistic and seeks information and expertise to evaluate is worth pursuing the opportunity, which will usually involve some risk. That means they have to take the risk, calculable risk. Locus of control. The enterprising person should be internal rather than external. Means they believe they have control over their destiny and make their own luck. Next slide is the market driven and technology driven entrepreneurship. Actually, market driven or market or traditional market or innovation driven. Today, today is the decade of innovation, so that the entrepreneur comes with the innovative ideas. Means there is a difference between the market of the traditional market is local or regional level, and the in innovation driven at the global level. Just like the take of example of Apple or Amazon company e-commerce, they are the innovative entrepreneurs. They think at the global level. Innovation in market, the that in traditional market the innovation is not necessary, but in innovation driven there is fundamental necessary. Ownership in market, there is familiar, little, external, or in innovation driven the market is the ownership is distributed and large, external. The rate of growth in traditional market is linear, but in innovation driven there is exponential. These are famous entrepreneurs like the first one, the number one entrepreneur in the world as per their wealth is Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos, and famous like Flipkart, famous entrepreneur Flipkart, Dhirubhai Ambani, Reliance Industries Limited, Bill Gates, Microsoft, or Elon Musk, SpaceX, Tesla, or Apple, Steve Jobs. These are famous entrepreneurs shown on the slide. What are the various opportunities for the entrepreneurs? They come with, they want to go in their entrepreneurial venture, like in health and wellness. They set up their venture in health. They set up their venture in like healthcare industry, Ayurveda industry, and health yoga and meditation. Like in manufacturing, due to COVID, there is large demand in healthcare industry. They set up their venture in in manufacturing, service delivery, hospital and clinics, or in Ayurveda sector like production, consulting, trading, marketing, or in yoga and meditation like centers of web portals, channels, web pages, yoga videos, or yoga consulting. Next, skill and education, like they want to start up in skill development, e-learning, and more, or executive education, like skill development in migrant laborers, unorganized sectors, factory workers, or e-learning in like higher education, schools, professional courses, teachers, trainers, or in executive employees, corporates, entrepreneurs. IT, R&D, and database industries. IT industry like IT and software, IT tools for industries, IT packages for management, human-related research and development, virus and bacteria, food habits, data informatics, personalized human data, or in management and security, office management. Next, today, due to COVID-19, there is a large of demand in, there is a large boom in e-commerce industry like online food delivery, online vegetable delivery, e-Karyana, e-medicine, online industrial goods delivery, e-transport, or social media and networking, old age pension networking, e-library for elder children, yoga and meditation, video conferencing like classroom teaching, because due to lockdown, the schools, colleges are totally closed. They want a setup, venturing classroom teaching online, examination, monitoring activities, office work. The future is created by what do you do today, not tomorrow. Think big, you get big. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Haribhushan ji, for your angle, your thoughts. I would like to invite Gopal Krishnan Venugopal sir. Venu sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you first.
Venu sir, welcome to the show. Before you begin, and share your thoughts with us, I have a question for you. My question is, whenever we talk about entrepreneurship, and I am aware of, based on our last discussions we had, I'm aware of the wonderful work you do at grassroots level, creating entrepreneurs at grassroots level, motivating people, teaching them skills. It is really amazing work that you do, given the large corporate background that you have, and you turned into somebody who wants to promote entrepreneurship. So I really appreciate that. Now, my question is, when we're talking about entrepreneurship, or entrepreneurs. Why do we always talk about innovation? Steve Jobs, $1 trillion company. Why don't we talk about something small, a soup kitchen, a sweet shop? See, if you go to my village, it is difficult for a person to make 10,000 rupees a month. Yeah,
Absolutely.
a few A-grade engineers in 150 kilometers, 200 kilometers from here, from Mumbai, in Nasik, they are running a sandwich, a pani puri, and I think a Frankie shop. 3 engineers in Nasik, and they are A-grade engineers from a very solid engineering college in Nasik, and they earn 50, 60,000 rupees a month. They are very happy. They told me, sir, if we go as a trainee, I'll earn 3,000, 5,000, and then after 3 years, I will earn 15,000. I don't of financial liberty. So I am very happy to earn 50,000. I know of a guy in Pune, again very close. He's an Ola driver. He earns 70, 80,000 bucks a month, and he's very happy. He told me, sir, I sit in a AC. A clerical job as a graduate. I sit in a AC car the whole day. I teach my customers nicely. They treat me nicely. Sometimes they give me tips. I'm pretty happy at my own convenience. I make 70, 80,000. So why is it that as preachers we always talk about a billion, 100 billion, $1 trillion company? Why don't we talk something at grassroots level? Look, saying the truth is 10,000 rupee jobs are not available anymore. We don't even have 10,000 rupee jobs, or 20,000 rupee jobs to give. We don't have that kind of jobs. Why don't you do a soup kitchen? Why don't you do a sandwich? Why don't you do an Ola? Why don't you do a fitter's part-time job? Why don't you do a cleaners or a lawn cleaner or a lawn mower's job and earn that basic $200, $300 a month? So that your family runs, and then you can plan from there. But my job is to make sure that you earn $200 a month or $300 a month. Why is this done? How? I mean, I'm not very happy. I don't understand this. What is your opinion, sir?
I agree absolutely. Because when we talk of entrepreneurship, typically, what is taught is all those handful of success stories, like our Amazons or, even native Flipkarts or Swiggies and all that. But the key is that a bulk of entrepreneurship comes from these small enterprises. You have these self-employed people. You have these people who have these enterprises spread across the country. In fact, in most of my presentation, whatever I've drawn has been from these kind of entrepreneurs only, and whatever conclusions I've come to is based on some kind of feedback or surveys we've taken from these very type of entrepreneurs that you spoke of. So I think a lot of these answers would come from the presentation itself, from what I'll be sharing right now. You touched upon all of these aspects. We need to promote exactly that kind of entrepreneurship. And we don't need to make it very romantic. So let me start straight away with the thing
Please,
that,
please share
yeah,
your thoughts, sir, and then we will have time for questions. Please share.
absolutely. So
Thank
the first thing is, they're around, we thought, like I told you, it's a very broad canvas. There's a lot of literature out there. And it's very exciting to pick up things from that literature. But we thought we've trained about 3,400 odd enterprises. So let's look at what happened to them. And most surprisingly, the first slide, Nimitesh, most surprisingly, uh, about 71% of the people we trained even failed to start. And about 11% did not survive for more than 5 years. We have only 18% which have survived for more than 5 years, and only 1% which we could call as success. I mean, we haven't given a very precise definition for success here. What I call success is those that have attained some kind of scale, some kind of sustainability. They have done around 5 to 10 crores of business, and they're able to do it consistently over a period of time. Um, and the reasons where, most of them failed to start, they could not get a good job. There's a lot of family pressure. Raising capital was a big issue, and why they failed. We also had to understand why these enterprises failed, whichever failed, was because a bulk of them ran out of cash, or there was pressure, or they could not grow their business. It stagnated at a particular place. So straight away, we know that even at that level, it is extremely challenging to run an enterprise. Um, some of the learnings we've drawn from those who have been successful in these enterprises. Already we've told earlier that they're exceptional learners. They learn from customers, they learn from suppliers, they learn from almost all the stakeholders, competitors, employees, associates. They learn by doing, they learn what works, they learn from what doesn't work. So practically, they've been doing, these are entrepreneurs are exceptional learners in every sense. The next trait that we've seen with entrepreneurs who have succeeded is that, they have a very solid, they develop the competence to manage the entire uh, depth of activities as well as the width of activities that the companies encompass. One part of it is enterprises, like you said, which are self-employed, where it's an electrician or it's a Ola driver that you said. These are single enterprises, but the enterprises I'm talking of are also not very huge. They are in the 5, 10, 20, 25 crore bracket. And they have grown from literally the one-man show, which is why I've showcased these things. This is what I think it takes for somebody to graduate from being a micro to something like a large, small enterprise or a medium enterprise. So I've taken the example of pharma, where, it's a combination of chemical sciences, biological sciences. More recently in drug development, we're using artificial intelligence. You're using tissue culture. You have these handheld devices where electronics is there. There's cloud computing. Many of the small startups use all of these things, and they have an understanding. They, over time, they try to develop a competence in all of these areas. The other aspect is that, most of the successful entrepreneurs, they've been trying to improve product and the innovation. There's a constant attempt to improve, make the product better, meet the customer's expectations, or exceed in many cases. I've taken the example of an enterprise that started very small with recycling plastic. They don't have very unrealistic expectations. And the good thing is, these people today, very recently, have been recognized as pioneers or innovators in recycling by World Economic Forum. And I'm happy to say that these guys started very small. They work with rack pickers, they work with NGOs, they work with homes. So when they recycled plastics first, they converted it into pellets. The users were not happy. They said the quality is not good. So they reworked on it, saw that there were a lot of contaminants in that, and then, worked on processes to remove those contaminants, which is your oil or ink or paste and things like that. And then, made the pellets which were better quality. Then they saw that it was still not as good as they would have thought it should be. It has to match virgin plastic. So, they really moved on to an area where they wanted better segregation of source. And when you want to segregate at source, you have to work with rack pickers, which you have to train rack pickers. And you train rack pickers, you have to work with NGOs, and you also have to engage with households. So this is a depth. I mean, you have to keep constantly working. This is the beauty of an entrepreneurship, is that you're constantly looking at innovating, making things better, working with ever increasing range of stakeholders. I mean, no enterprise would have thought that it will work with rack pickers, but they had to do that. And they made plastic pellets. The quality is good. Yet now they face another challenge, which is about cost. The cost of these pellets are still higher than that of virgin pellets. And so they're working at efficiencies, which means working on technologies, working on lowering the cost, increasing the supply chain efficiency. So I think these are the kind of projects that we have to highlight because they are extremely grounded. They are futuristic, if you look at it, because environment is the thing of the future. And the entrepreneurs, I mean, the founders of these organizations are extremely well qualified from the top institutions in India. And the other thing is, they convert challenges into opportunities. Here I'm going to mention a prosthetic arm manufacturer. It's a social enterprise. But it's not a not-for-profit, it's a for-profit social enterprise. Now, prosthetic arms these days are far more complicated. They do a lot more things than the artificial limbs that used to be available earlier. So they have near normal functionality. I won't say normal. So there's engagement with medical sciences, electronics, 3D printing technologies are used, material science is involved, design using 3D design tools like Autodesk tools are used, robotics is used, artificial intelligence is used. So typically, if the arm gets cut here, you have the medical sciences surgeons, orthopedic surgeons who connect the sensory organs to devices, electronic devices, and then the hand can actually start feeling, touching, getting sensation, doing a lot of these actions. So, but the point I wanted to make is not about the product itself, but the complexity involved. And these kind of skills require in-depth core engineering skills and very high level of computational knowledge. And it was very challenging for these people to get people. So what they did was they thought of some kind of top-up training in technical schools, engineering colleges, where they could train students and hire them for captive use. But they actually found out that training in areas like robotics, 3D modeling, 3D printing, AI, these are aspirational areas. These are futuristic areas. These are the areas that have been mentioned by World Economic Forum and the host of others. So these areas, they thought this is an opportunity to actually hive off an independent training division. And that's what they've done. They built a training platform which engages students, which has content, which does online training, and which also does some kind of internship, connects them to industry. The industry is happy because there's a shortage of competent staff, even for established industries here. So I think the other part is they start looking at very tangential opportunities. So there are a number of other traits also which I would like to mention. A lot of them seek recognition, financial gain, influence. They have a strong dislike for bureaucratic style of working. They're extremely focused. All of them are phenomenally hardworking. I don't know if it is a good thing or a bad thing, but entrepreneurs, we found that across the board, all of them, the average time they seem to work, at least the ones we've engaged with, is about 74.4 hours a week. And that's a lot of time. The speakers also mentioned they're extreme risk takers. And one more trait that I've seen with successful entrepreneurs is that they think they have a serious responsibility to employers, customers, other stakeholders. They're personally responsible for their salaries, for whatever they have to pay to them, and they think it is a duty to ensure that these people are paid on time. So there's a lot of loyalty which comes to entrepreneurs from almost all their stakeholders. They're extremely there's a great deal of attachment, a great deal of loyalty, engagement with people. It's a very personal level. Um, so this is kind of, I've summed up what the entrepreneurs are. There are innumerable nuances and factors at interplay in the life cycle of an enterprise. Besides what I mentioned, there's money, timing, policy changes, technology, also these things. But what I've seen is successful entrepreneurs, these are external factors, what I mentioned. The internal factors, which is, efficiencies and cost and, the employee work output, etc., they are largely in grip, in control with that. But the external factors, they are not always in control, but many of them do anticipate these external factors. If we take out black swan events like Corona, which even the best, smartest entrepreneurs couldn't have anticipated, the all other things they tend to anticipate in advance. So this is, in sum. Now coming to your key question, why aren't we promoting those kind of enterprises? I think we have to. My own information about the statistics that I've seen, or I can't, it might be slightly invariant, but almost 79% of the employment that comes through MSME sector comes from micro and small enterprises, the kind of enterprises you mentioned. And so they become very critical to the economy. There's no doubt about it. And I think it hinges a lot on these people. Also, they are extremely agile and lit. So, for example, during the course of the pandemic itself, a lot of people lost their businesses, those who were probably having these food carts or the other things. What they've done effectively is that, they've become bikers, delivery boys. So they've taken up these jobs which have helped them earn these revenues. So they are always aware that, it's a question of survival. So they are able to adapt, change quickly, and come back again. And they are generally not burdened with too much of institutional debt. So I think one of the things that the government should do is actually try and promote. There are a number of programs, but I think those programs are not directed more on outcome. They measure the input parameters, like number of training programs conducted, or number of people trained, the number of people who qualified, and things like that, rather than the outcomes or the impact studies. Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, sir, for your opinion. We have time for a few questions. Patrick, are you there, Patrick? Yeah, so we have a lot of questions for the speakers, but I also have a question for Patrick. An announcement before that. Thank you, Amrish, for joining us. Amrish is here. Amrish Baliga is here. He is a very close friend, very dear friend, and a very old. So we have been friends for many years. It's not that he is old. So thank you for joining us, Amrish.
It was quite an enlightening talk. Thanks for having me.
Absolute pleasure to have you. You have been a strong supporter of entrepreneurship. You are in. So it is only apt for us to have you here. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Patrick, my question is, you have been in Europe and now settled in China. Just like what we were discussing before this seminar is, there is a cultural issue. Everybody wants a government job. We are still in the raj of thinking that my son or daughter should, be 21, get a government job and be happy for the rest of the life. Get a pension, get a flat, get medical, and then we will arrange for a good marriage proposal because the child is in a government job. So that's typical, colonial Raj thinking. But you have spent years in Europe and China. So what is the average thinking there? How does an average Joe in think about entrepreneurship?
You say where now? In Europe?
What is the tell us about both?
Okay, well, I mean, you have to be careful with generalization, right? But I think it's also the external factors, right? So, for example, in Scandinavia, an employee gives you a lot of safety net and also a relatively high level of living standards, right? So you have to look at that. That makes you actually risk adverse. So where if you're somewhere else where you don't have that employee opportunity, which could, for example, be China. I think you mentioned some examples like that in India, right? Where an employee salary is so low that then the risk of entrepreneurship becomes more attractive. So I think that's the complexity there always. But I think there's also cultural issues. I mean, where everyone is always talking about it. If everyone is always talking about finding the next great job, which I think happens more in Europe, rather than everyone is talking about what would be a great business, that also influences you a lot. So in China, I think it's more everyone's talking about business, and in Europe, more people are talking about corporations, jobs, careers. I think it's also interesting. I mean, if you work as a CEO of a large corporation, that's not really entrepreneurial. It aligns a little bit with your soup kitchen point. I think that's still an employee because there's no risk, right? That person has no downside. If he gets fired or she gets fired, they get 5-year salary and lots of money, right? So there's no pain for failure, which is very different, I would say, if you're running your own business. So I don't know if that answers the question, but
yeah, it sort of does. My question for Hari Bhushanji. Hari Bhushanji, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hari Bhushanji, you are from Jammu and Kashmir. Now, it is a very interesting place. It's one of the most beautiful places I have ever visited. But it is also difficult to do business there because the or industries. So when a child is growing up, when he's in school and he's in college, how do you inculcate the idea of among children? So do you say, do some trading? Do you say, go out and do a job and make some money? How is it? What does the culture force you to do? Where does it lead to? How does entrepreneurship come in? In a child's mind, how does it happen?
Okay, sir. Actually, in Jammu and Kashmir, there is so many issues like political instability, industrialization issues. So actually in northern region, I already said in the presentation that out of the 10 out of the 9 students think about government job. So we have to change the mindset of the youth so that they become a job creator, not a job seeker. So through entrepreneurship awareness programs, like the various schemes of our organization, like state-sponsored schemes, like seed capital fund scheme, youth startup loan schemes, or Himayat scheme, National Minority Development Finance scheme. So entrepreneurship awareness programs we conducted in colleges, universities, institutes, so that students get about the knowledge of various schemes of the JKEDI. As far as school is concerned, we also conducted entrepreneurship orientation programs, entrepreneurship awareness programs through the through the through the through the principals or directors or the of the schools or colleges or universities. so that the mindset of the youth can change. Okay, sir.
Okay. Thank you, sir, for that. Dr. Rajkumar, are you there with us? Professor Raj.
Yes, sir.
So, as the head of department and the chairperson for entrepreneur innovation at the university at Varanasi, how do you? There are two questions really. So, first is how do you inculcate idea of becoming an entrepreneur within a child? Because a child, what really happens is in standard first, second, third, we say, please study, otherwise you will not get a good school. In school, we say, please study, otherwise you will not get a good. In college, we say, please study, otherwise you will not get a good MBA college. And in a good MBA college, we say, please study, otherwise you will not get a job. So this is what parents do. 150 crore people in India, and everybody does that. I find myself also doing it. Saying, please study, otherwise you will not get a good MBA college. So where do you really say, okay, do something, otherwise become a good entrepreneur, otherwise you will not be a job creator? How does it happen? How do you inculcate the idea among a child?
So far as the inculcation of idea in the child is concerned, since our institution is on a higher education part, so we don't directly deal with the children as such. Although on awareness front, I usually go to every school and have some deliberation on that part. But I experimented a different thing, which I would like to mention. I'm having an incubation cell, and we do the business incubation part, through which around about the year we run some entrepreneurship awareness programs, some development programs. Some are sponsored by the DST, some we do by own. We create some ecosystem like business plan, hackathon, and all these things. One experiment I did that in the entire entrepreneurship development program or awareness program, we have to make the students aware with the entrepreneurs who are already there in the business, who are already doing well, or some startup. So earlier, I used to invite people from outside. But when 2 or 3 students have started their venture in the beginning, I experimented one thing, that during that phase, not only invited the startup from outside, but I also invited the startup from my own institute. So what happened, when they are getting honored, person who is just passed out 2-3 years back, they are getting honored as a vice president of a big company from the same dais, it gives a psychological impact on the other student. And I told them that, see, when you will become a vice president in a company, it will take 10 to 15 years at least. And then you will get this kind of honor. And here, just by starting, and within 2 years, you will get the same kind of honor. Because this is something which is very important. I don't know whether I have so much of time or not. I will give you one example. After this program, one student from the BCA background, he has come to me and told me that I want to start my venture. I told him, what will you do? So he has talked about so many things, and he wanted to start some event management company. At the same time, there is a problem in Varanasi, from where I belong to, that you don't find where the lawn is available. So he has created an app where the lawn's availability will be shown, and that he has connected, he has proposed me to connect it with the startup. So I told him, see, in the beginning, you don't have that much of money. And I normally believe in having a self-sustainable model instead of getting money from some other agency. So because I follow the same formula, think big, start small. So I told him that you don't go for such a big venture in the beginning. Do one thing. See, in every home, there are at least 4 members. Hum do, hamare do. Husband, wife, 2 children on an average. And nowadays, the birthday of 2 children is must. And nowadays, children also celebrate the birthday of their mothers and fathers. So at least 4 small events will be there. And normally they celebrate the marriage anniversary of their parents also. So 4 to 5 events are there. At least 2 events are there where they would like to invite their relative, their friends. So do some survey. When he has done the survey within the Varanasi, he has found that some big agencies are there and they never accept any event below 2 lakh rupees. So he was disappointed. I told him, this is the opportunity for you.
Correct.
Because if 25,000 one is spent, and people don't have time nowadays, they are busy in their offices, they are busy in their college. So my children also do the same thing, but everybody want to celebrate. So you just take their pain, and then I given a brand name, Don't Worry. So now this firm is Don't Worry event. And I told him that more than 20 lakh people are there in Varanasi. You will not find any day spare in 365 days if you just pick up one event daily. And believe me, now in the entire Eastern UP part, they emerged as one of the leading event management companies so far as the not only birthday but rather the marriage functions also. In COVID phase, he has come to me, sir, what should I do now? I told him, see, you cannot suppress the human aspirations. Everybody want to celebrate their birthday. Everybody want to celebrate their, this marriage anniversary. In the first phase, you must be saying that people were cooking the food. They are showing this on that, Facebook and other things. So aspirations are there, but just ensure them that all these things will be done within their home with full safety and security. And he has done that. The experiment got well, and now he is doing well without break of any day. And when I honored him in the same entrepreneurship last year, on seeing that 4 children, 4 students, you can say, of undergraduate programs, not MBA, undergraduate programs, they came and registered in my incubation cell. And now their brothers and sisters, who are a small one, which you are saying the kids, 6th class, 7th class, they are saying that I will go in the same field instead of searching for the job. So instead of going for the MCA program or MBA, just after BCA, is a what I want to say in the beginning, what I told you have to keep this kind of role model before the people, that we respect the startups. We don't do that. We wait that when they will become Ambani, then I will. When they will become Ambani, everybody will respect them. So initially, whether you are respecting them or not. See, my center is the Center for Entrepreneurship, Innovation, and Skill Development. In front of me, fortunately or unfortunately, there is a training and placement cell, as it is happening in every institution. So every student is going there. When they get selected in some big company or some company with just a salary of 35,000, 25,000, everybody celebrate. Oh, you have done well, you have done good thing, great. And when they start their own company, even giving 50,000 salary to 10 people, we don't celebrate. We don't appreciate. We don't give recognition.
No, I completely agree with you, sir. Idolization of entrepreneurs is the key. That point is an amazing point. I will definitely use that. I think by tomorrow itself, in my next meeting with the ministry here, I will definitely use that point, and I will make sure that I give you the credit in my meeting. No, really, idolization is a necessity. You can look at Bollywood, you can look at Hollywood. Fame creates more fame, and that creates blockbusters, and then the money flows in. So first we need to entrepreneurs. We need to make posters of our entrepreneurs, and so they should feel like a Shah Rukh Khan, and then they will become a. Absolutely right, sir. We come to the end of our show. With that, do we have Hayden? Can I speak to you, sir? I would like to. He has been a policymaker in Trinidad. He was the chief executive for the Securities Exchange Board. I had a question for Hayden if he's here. Otherwise, we can open the round. If any of the speakers have a question for each other, anyone can ask a question. Anybody present can ask a question.
I had a question.
Yeah, sir, please.
Yeah. So this is basically for Venugopalji.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I found your that the numbers which are given quite interesting.
Huh.
I mean, the number which I saw was nearly 18% were successful for the first 5 years, and out of which only one really succeeded. You said 11 wound up, and 71% failed to start. So, I mean, if you look at the success stories of most of the large entrepreneurs or even the smaller ones who have really been successful, if you go back into history, I suppose you'll find failures.
Yes.
Well, I mean, quite a few of them would have failed in the first, second venture. So, have you ever thought of going back and working with the people who have failed? Like, for example, you said 71% failed to restart. I mean, failed to start. And in that, 46% got jobs, they are out. 11% are not interested, they are also out. 17% of with family pressure, so you don't expect them to come. But this 26% who failed to raise capital, I think could be a good set to work with and find out as to why they failed to raise capital. Maybe there was something wrong with the plans which they had, the business plans which they had. I think if we work on that, maybe you can make some of them successful. Now, going back to the ones who started the business but wound up, that is 11% who wound up, and even this 17% who, I mean, carried on the business for 5 years and then finally had to wind up for whatever reason. Now, if we go back and check that, we see that 26% could not grow. So there is a problem statement there, which can be solved. 44% ran out of cash. Now, this is a problem not only with the smaller entrepreneurs, it's also a major problem with the bigger entrepreneurs also.
Right.
Because
right.
most of them, I mean, may not even know how to manage cash, the cash flows. I think that's the biggest issue with a lot of entrepreneurs.
Right.
So if all these things are, I mean, if we go back and work with them, I suppose we can create more success stories than what we are seeing today. So just wanted your opinion on that.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's just one clarification I wanted to make here. The 17% haven't really wound up. They are surviving. They are very much there.
Right.
It's just that, you know, they haven't, you can't say that they have stabilized.
Right.
They are still fragile. That's what I wanted.
Okay, fine.
Yeah. So now I think very relevant points. You're absolutely right. We do continue to work on these people. Which is why, you know, this data is not from last 1 or 2 years. It's actually what we have done over a past 10 to 12 years, and in multiple organizations. So it's just a thing that, you know, constantly I've been in touch with all of these, and as a institutionally, we've been trying to keep in touch with them. You're right. The 26%, why they did not start, because they failed to raise capital. They are a very good target to reach out to. And why they failed, I think nearly all of them, the 11%, nearly all of them do come back. I don't have the data right now, so I'm not able to tell you exactly how many of them have come back and things like that. When entrepreneurs typically face a setback, they do wind up. I mentioned that some of them have got a good job after they started. So at some point, you know, the pressure of entrepreneurship is too much on them. And when there's a job offer, you know, they do take it up, but they want to get back all the time. So this is something we continue to work with them on. And the 1% is really the inspiration, though the number looks small. And if you look at the same slide, there's something I've mentioned as a footnote here, because the numbers from a top level, they look very abysmal. I mean, they look like, you know, my God, I mean, you're training so many people and just a minuscule portion, a very small part of the funnel is actually making money, but it is not. We spent about 31,000 odd roughly on each training program. So the combined cost is about 11 crores roughly. But if you look at the combined revenue of the enterprises that have survived, for just 2019 alone, that revenue is 189 crores. And the combined employment that these people have generated, just the surviving enterprises, is about 5,645. Now, I haven't done a calculation of the social return on investment, but it's very clear that the return on investment is pretty huge. So I think one, it has created a funnel of prospective entrepreneurs, like you rightly mentioned. It's not just the people who started and who moving on, those who dropped out, and those who did not start. There's a pool of prospective entrepreneurs even within that, and we have to continue to work on them. So as we keep doing, you can imagine that this funnel is going to increase phenomenally.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for that, Dr. Mitesh. Could you remove that screen? Yeah. So thank you very much for that. I think we have Hayden back. Hayden, if you are there, we have a question for you.
Yeah, I'm back. Apologies, folks.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you very much. We are at the end of our show, but I could not miss this question with you. Trinidad and known for the natural resources, and most of the opportunities there were in trading, mining, natural resources, and so on. So how is the government policies, how is the government pushing entrepreneurship towards different fields, let's say tourism, and so on? So what is the government doing so that people move towards different directions where the government wants them to move? How does it happen?
I guess the short answer to that is there's not enough. The government remains by some distance a sort of major mover and shaker. There are hundreds of state-owned enterprises that, for example, are candidates for privatization, but there is government is resistant to letting go of control of these companies. And in terms of the setting an environment to encourage business and business growth and so on, it's very difficult in Trinidad. We have an issue with how easy it is to set up business, the bureaucracy involved, the costs and so on. It's challenging. But one of the questions I was hoping I could ask and I missed most of the presentations, was to what extent does sheer population mass contribute to the development of a viable small business SME sector and encourage entrepreneurship and so on within. So we're talking about a huge population, relatively speaking, in India and in China, and to what extent that is a major factor in sort of supporting the growth of small businesses and entrepreneurship in those jurisdictions.
So you're asking how is the government promoting SMEs and MMEs?
No. So I answered the question about the government, and so the long and short of what I said in terms of what happens in Trinidad is that there's not enough support. The business activity is state dominated in Trinidad. So the ease of doing business in Trinidad is not well developed. It's very difficult to do the necessary things to set up business. But I had a question at the end of it to any one of the presenters, and I say I didn't hear many of the presentations, and the question was, to what extent does the sheer size of the population in India and China contribute to the development of the SME sector and entrepreneurship in those countries?
Okay, you are breaking percentage of the population is working on entrepreneurship?
No,
No.
all right.
Yeah. Yeah, no, if I have understood the question right, you want to know that the sheer size of the population presents a phenomenal opportunity. And that is one aspect of, the entrepreneurship. And the other aspect is there are so many people that even if a minuscule percentage become entrepreneurs, there are a fairly large number of small and medium enterprises. So in both the ways, I think that's a huge advantage for both India and China. It's become a even bigger advantage these days because of, a lot of population is enabled with technology, and especially with the advent of mobile technologies, with the advent of bandwidth and wireless. I think these have completely revolutionized the size and scale of opportunity that is thrown open to a population, which is why you have street vendors. And by street vendors I mean you have what is called these carts, food carts, and very small format food carts. People who just come out for a few hours and make all these condiments. They offer delivery over apps. You have minuscule mom and pop stores who are able to use the power of technology, and they are able to reach out to a much wider spectrum of people. In fact, I know of very small entrepreneurs who actually graduated to set up some kind of cloud kitchens. I mean, cloud kitchens not as defined, in classic startup technology where it's a huge kitchen catering to a large population. But I know small food carts which have actually set up a kitchen in a larger place and are able to cater to a much larger segment. This has happened because of the population, and because of the availability of technology to such a wide range of population. I think it's a very big advantage. There's no doubt about it. And it has also brought in more entrepreneurs. Some of the self-employed people, you have electricians, you have beauticians, even at this moment, as we talk, though it's a larger startup, I mean, they've been able to rope in, train thousands of people, lakhs of people in beautician trade, and they are able to use technology, leverage it, and because of a large population, offer these services at homes to people in lieu of the lockdowns. So definitely population with the access to these technologies and little bit of innovation and thinking, it opens up massive opportunities. There's no doubt about that.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for that opinion, Venu sir. If I may address, the question, what happens is hidden. There are two underlying currents. One current is where just like 95% of the wealth is owned by less than 5% of Americans. And that will happen in India, or there is a school of thought which says that will happen in most, because as larger corporations grow, small entrepreneurs and smaller corporations play a supporting role. And when you play a supporting role, corporations are aware of the margins you make. And it is very easy for the larger corporations to squeeze you on the margins you make. So while on day one, a large retail basket company may use mom and pop stores and allow them to make margins for the last delivery of fruits or vegetables. There will be a time when after enough number of people subscribe to their app or website, they will be able to push the into squeezing down their margins. So that is one school of thought. The other school of thought is the government is doing a lot. It's never enough if you have 1.5 billion people. But the government is doing a lot. So the central government is, Niti Aayog is doing a lot. They are pushing in through entrepreneurship schemes, innovation schemes, creating entrepreneurs. The state governments are doing a lot. In fact, I hear of the central government doing a lot of work, the Maharashtra state government doing a lot of work, and the Gujarat state government doing a lot of work. We work with a few states in this country to prepare grassroots level entrepreneurs through various schemes, like a beautician's program or an electrician's program. And then again, on the other level, there are innovation hubs run by the government, state-wise, and then again centrally, which promote tinkering labs and direct innovation of high-end engineering or IT products. So again, that is happening. Then on the Atal Tinkering Labs, the government, central government is trying to create a lab at every large engineering college, commerce colleges now. It's called a tinkering lab, so that you go there and tinker and try to do some innovation. So there are too many forces at play. So at the ground level, we are creating innovation. At a high level, you can't really stop the capitalist. So there will always be Amazons of the world entering your country, and somewhere in the middle, you have to make sure that you make some money, you don't make some money. So the fight goes on. I think we have a long way to go, but these are very exciting times in India to be an entrepreneur. Because there's money available, we are creating so many unicorns, decacons, $1 billion company, $2 billion company, $10 billion company. There are so many of them in India. So these are very exciting times. So as somebody said, these are the worst of the times and the best of the times. So these are those times in India. And as a conclusion to our seminar, I thank you all very much for being here today. I really enjoyed it. The speakers were excellent. The audience was excellent. Thank you very much for being with us today. And this is an apt topic. We shall very soon declare a few more sessions on entrepreneurship. I would like the speakers today to come there as an audience and trouble my speakers on that day with a lot of questions. So thank you, Hayden. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.